Okay, so I'm going to try this again. My streaming abilities have been taken to a large extent. I could always use you guys' help, but hey, I'm never relying on anyone else. And in that manner, what I'm saying is they've changed my account, so I have to have 1,000 people to live stream. So there's no more protection for me when I go out in the streets. Um, and they did that right after the run-in with InfoWars. Let me turn this background music down. They did that right after the run-in with InfoWars. Like, literally, I was going to continue a live stream right there on my way home from that. And nope, couldn't do that. Hey, what's up? I don't know if you talk how I see using different software, like I was just explaining, that they've taken my main rights away to live stream through Android. So things have changed. Things are always changing. They're always trying to kick me out. So anyways, on the way home, they had updated the YouTube terms of service so I could no longer live stream. Pretty interesting that I attacked their brothers at InfoWars, and right away they changed the whole algorithm. So, or the whole background software. So what we have here is we have David Duke. He's posting. This is many times. I'm just showing one example. I have several, but this was just the easiest to pull up. And he was told several times. This is David Duke talking about he's worshiping Andrew England at this point, and is already exposed Andrew England, kind of like heralded in the alt-right and then turned them all around to worship the people that they said they weren't worshiping, Alex Jones. The people that they exposed, basically built their base upon. And David Duke as well confronted Alex Jones, and supposedly Alex Jones turned around. But anyways, so let's get on. Dr. Duke and Andrew England, the true voice of the Republican Party. See, they'll only talk to each other kindly. When I get in there, I start asking things they don't like, and they silence me. I've talked to Alex Jones, and then you get put on the silencer. Of course, I was dumber way back when I talked to them, so I wasn't as good at getting straight to the core. So he's like, Trump calls out Zio media liars, but he wasn't. I mean, look at the face on Trump. He looks like an actor acting like a snake. Wolf Blitzer looks more legit than Trump in most pictures, and same with Zucker even. So he says he calls them by name and calls them liars. But we know now that at this point, the fake media slogan just simply means liberals. That's all that means. He's not telling you that there's any other fake media. He's just saying whoever attacks Trump is fake media and everyone else is real. And it's like, in honesty, the liberals advertise Trump. They might have attacked him, but they advertised him by attacking him. That's easy to do. That's great to do. Media attention is media attention. Millions of dollars in advertising, billions of dollars in advertising is advertising, no matter how you like it. 50% of the population loves bad attention, and the other 50% is still attracted to it. So here I am in the comments posting that Eric Trump called to kill David Duke. Now, this is extremely illegal. You can't do this. He's like the president's child calling to kill other famous people, basically putting a hit out, and no one touched this at all. And so I warned David Duke many times. Of course, it wasn't really a warning. I knew I was putting them on notice, and I did warn Trump, aka put him on notice several times, that his family is taken over by these people. But I said here, Trump's Jewish family called to shoot Duke. Sorry, folks, but the internet is them too. The only way to get rid of them is to take up arms against their shills. anyways, according to, common sense, I should post facts because I'm educating them, right? Because he doesn't know that Trump's family called to kill him. So these pictures are a little out of place as I scroll through them. This is my first time doing this, and I'll have to figure out a way to place pictures in place in this folder so I can just go back and forth. But what I'm going to do now, this is one of many times I told David Duke that it wasn't really happening the way it was. So I'm just going to show you this one time. And I told him before, and I showed him the links, the proof that Trump's family is the elite's blood. So we're going to move over here. So we searched on YouTube for Trump deserves a bullet, and no one in the alt-right picked it up at all. They didn't touch it at all. You can see really the only person talking about it that's known is up the top. The Majority Report with Sam Cedar, and I believe that's a liberal. This long time I took this picture, and I believe that was the whole point of the picture, was to show you that there's no alt-righters touching this. And you would think that would be very important, because that's KKK, David Duke, whatever you want to call him, is like one of their heroes, and Trump is supposedly one of their heroes, so why would they be fighting? This exposes who Trump is. And as you can see, no one in the alt-right, no one on the right touched it, really, at all. You can see, look at these no names listed who touched it. No one touched it, really. It was just a complete cover-up, like it was a fabrication put out there to make the Republicans who weren't white supremacists vote for Trump by, disassociating the two, even though that's really where the alt-right came from. So let's go to the next area. So here's David Duke's channel. And this is just pointing out that when you look at people, that you can see things about them. God made this, the creator of the world made everything very obvious. We just overthink things. And look at some of these pictures of him. He looks bad. He looks like bad news, as I wrote. He looks like one of the reptiles. All the people talking about reptiles, well, he's not even having to look any different. He just looks deceptive, and he's being deceptive too. So this is like one of the designs of the world. You can read a book by its cover. You can judge a book by its cover. I read books. That's how I know who Louis Royo is. You guys all and gals all know who Louis Royo is because we shared his pictures on the internet. But I knew who he was because in the 90s I went to bookstores, and then one time I seen a Louis Royo book and I looked at the cover and I was like, that book is mine. And so I judged the book by its cover. When you look at Stephen King's Pet Sematary, you're like, wow, that's such a cool name. I'm buying the book, right? You might look at the insert. You might look at the final page of the book. And I prefer you don't look at the very final page of the story. You look at the book and see if there's something written in the back. But you do judge a book by its cover. That's a total lie that you don't do that. It's basicness. You can look directly into someone's soul and see who they are as you speak with them, and that is actually how you learn who a person is. And there's some sort of energy sharing as well too. You can practically hypnotize people by staring into their soul. So you can look at him and see that he is deceptive and he's being deceptive. So here you can see it says search results for Eric Trump. So I went to his page when this news was released. You can see these. It's showing you November 23rd, 2016 is the recent, down to October. So it was clearly would have been dated between the 23rd of November and October 10th that the threats were made to him, and he did not mention it once. If he if someone had made death threats on him, it would be very important for someone in his position to put it out. Like I had someone who upped the ante. Like everyone's always talking about drugging me and locking me away because I'm psycho or schizophrenic. That's the term. I'm schizophrenic. They actually do not say I'm psycho for some weird reason. That would be a little more accurate, I think. But apparently they just, it's a term the TV's taught them, or the internet or whatever, the programming from the mass media and alternative media. So they say I'm schizophrenic. And one time they upped the ante. Instead of saying lock me away and drug me, they said electroshock therapy. So I took pictures of that, and they're like, we're calling the cops on you too. It's like, wow, you're threatening to kill me basically and torture me, and you're going to call the cops. And I almost had no doubt that they called the cops, and the cops were probably like, this guy is evil. He's talking about the people we love. We do need to electrocute him. And so I posted that, not because I'm a rat, but because the ante was upped, and I just wanted to show people that I deal with that all the time. I did not want to attack any one person specific, but hey, that person chose to be the person to make electroshock therapy comments behind a real freaking account. So David Duke knows from being in this that you would want to post it if it was a world leader calling to kill you, to shoot you in the head. Eric Trump called to shoot him in the head. If that was not a staged event, he would have, definitely wrote about that, been like, whoa, dude, like, whether he's scared or not. I see it says someone's has commented, I believe, but I do not see. Okay. Hey, what's up, Ann Crank? Okay, I just pulled that up, so now I know how that's done. Interesting comment you made Ann Crank. On my video, I do not see your comment showing up, but it's important to note that liberal of info, that the Republican of InfoWars, who does, like, her propaganda is literally why do women act so scared when a man compliments them? And then she said, then she got all scared when I threw a compliment her way. So that's interesting to note. Good of you to re-bring that up, because I should definitely point that out. But we're going to continue with this. And so you can see he's not scared at all of this, of what's going on here. He's not worried about it at all. He doesn't. I'm not saying he should be scared either. I'm not saying I feel fear. It's a matter of protection and notifying. It helps you. If there's people attacking you, it helps you. But if you're saying vote for Donald Trump and Donald Trump's family is saying kill you, then why are you saying vote for Donald Trump? What is up with that? That makes no sense. So this whole situation was just totally contrived nonsense. And you can see here, the video you guys see that is posted is right there. And it does say it's posted and uploaded. It even says it's got a thumb up and a thumb down. It somehow has 0 views, but it simply didn't make the grade. So anything could have happened there. I'm not going to speculate on why that's not uploaded, because they're forcing me to use alternative methods because I can't live stream now. I need 1,000 viewers. They updated that, like I said at the beginning of the video, right after. So then what is David Duke if he's working with these people? Well, we can look at who surrounds David Duke. And who do we have surrounding David Duke? We have Brother Nathaniel, which is exposed, and I have that documented, that where he has changed his web pages. And I have the Wayback Machine showing the alternative theory, because at first he was anti-Trump and exposing Trump, and then he magically started switching. And we have Jared Taylor. Shared values, white nationalism, and Jewish nationalism. That is, see, these are basically the pre-alt-right. That's who David Duke is. You have David Duke, Jared Taylor of Amran, which includes the Jewish Gottfried who coined the term alternative right and mentored Spencer, and he mentored Jared Taylor there. And you have Ramsey Paul, and you have Stormfront, and Stormfront as well. There's not as much on them I have, but for some reason my phone is not like accepting. And for some reason the device I'm using, I shouldn't say phone because they have limited my phone privileges for live streaming. And if I were using a phone, they would probably be like, wait a minute, how's he doing that? So there's Amran, of course. I'm backing this up, backing my words up. Gottfried, November 21st, 2018. Jewish Paul Gottfried. See, I'm not making this up, even though I showed the links in another one. Eric Trump, David Duke deserves a bullet. CNN in New York. Eric Trump says David Duke deserves to be shot. This is a huge crime. If anyone could ever be arrested for making threats, these people were. So all of you, if any of you ever face any sort of repercussions for making a threat, just let me know. Let the world know, and let this be seen as well. Well, you're definitely safe. But here's one time where David Duke actually said Donald Trump is too Zionist for me. But that was 2015. And he quickly shifted. It was when he teamed up with the alternative right like England, he quickly shifted over. So, yeah, I'm having a hard time here going through stuff. And here David Duke is pushing Patrick Little. It's not that Patrick Little was from the era of David Duke. Patrick Little, it went David Duke and his group to, it's actually a long thing. It was like Republican, it was like Nazis, Republicans, conspiracy theorists, libertarians, alt-right, alt-light, and now you have the GDL era, which is like Patrick Little, kind of, with alt-right. And here's David Duke with the golden one, who's a suspicious person merely for the fact he's always got to have his shirt off. And I'm not like a hater or something, but I tried baiting people with my looks, and I'm attracting the wrong people for politics. You are attracting people who just want to lust over your body, and they don't want to, they don't actually want change. And you can attract followers like that for all sorts of reasons, but him doing that is specifically attracting a crowd of white males who like white males. And his whole alternative right thing is supposed to be against stuff like that. Not that I'm not saying, I've never said I'm any part of any group, but, it's kind of weird that you could go to his comments and see what he's opposed to, men liking other men, all over it. And kind of that's like the majority of his page is that just the most he offers is he has a made body. And he might not have earned that either. It's very hard to earn a body like that. Most people who have a body like that are using alternative, deceptive methods. Now, here's another person from the David Duke-ish era, kind of like the pre-alt-right, you might call it, Colin Flaherty. And it's odd because Colin Flaherty looks exactly like a guy named Hugh O'Flaherty. I don't know if me controlling the chat down below makes it so you guys all see it and it covers everything up or not. So I guess I'll learn eventually. I don't even watch my videos, so it helps if I get comments on whether that chat is going up and down right now. Hey, what's up? Zakia, sorry. It's hard to pronounce names I don't know, right? Can you guys see that? Like when I'm moving that chat up and down on my screen, it's disappearing and coming back. Does anyone see that? I suppose that would be Zakia, wouldn't it? right? It's hard to tell. Again, you can pronounce everything so many ways. It just depends on your own language and phonetics and what you decide to pronounce it as. Okay, so I'll keep that down. Sorry, I didn't know other people were able to see that. Okay, so, and then there's Hugh O'Flaherty, who looks exactly like Flaherty, and he saved Jews from the German Holocaust camps. So there's a reason why Colin O'Flaherty protects what he does. And there he is with the little buddy with the hat and the beard. And Colin Flaherty, general bottom line is you blame white liberals for everything. And he says white liberals control the media, but white liberals don't own the media. Okay, if white liberals own the media, things would be a little bit different. It's 50% of the media is one way. Well, it's more like 70% of the media is like the liberals, the mainstream anyways, and then like 30% is the other way. But it doesn't really matter because it's not white people who own the media. It's not black people. It's not white people. It's not Arabs. It's not Asians. But he's there to protect that. So he's with that pre-alt-right group. And of course, Stormfront, I said, is not listed here. But it doesn't matter because Stormfront's in there. And you have, who's there, Stormfront? You got Jack Boot, the forum moderator. And he gets rid of you real fast if you say something, if you say something too intelligent. I have that documented as well, but this isn't about Stormfront. This is about David Duke. Hold up, I need a drink here. My mouth's getting dry. And so I pretty much just named everyone that David Duke associates with. Stormfront. The main people he associated with, and the people kind of like from the 90s to the 2010. Now, I guess I left out the National Alliance. It used to be Dr. William Luther Pierce, but now it's like his brother. You can't prove anything about William Luther Pierce, but he did seem to be one of these people who would blame liberals, but he was actually the most outspoken about Jewish control. And but you can see with the National Alliance now, they are fully behind Trump and they don't care about the truth. And just like I'm showing you here, David Duke has been put on notice. The National Alliance has been put on notice as well. And you can just tell after watching these people and testing them so long that they are all being deceptive and they are all misleading people. So you can be assured whoever they're telling you to go to at one point is just another part of the program. See, look, and here when he's discussing with Golden One, he's talking about the presidential candidates and supposedly the Zionist agenda, but he's covering up what Trump's saying all along. Here he did admit it. So every now and then they get caught admitting stuff. But, and just so for people listening, when I'm saying here he did admit it, I'm showing again the headline, David Duke, Donald Trump is too Zionist for me. And it's more than just Zionist. See, that's not what it's about. You can look at my page and you can see that one of my first posts was David Duke teaching me about Purim. So David Duke is an expert on Purim. He taught me. So the simple fact that he is covering up that Trump is part of the Purim ritual, Alex Jones part of the Purim ritual. And yes, he was on Alex Jones' show for an hour and he refused to say, hey, your kids are of this bloodline and that is the Purim ritual. They have bred with you, and that's how they take over the nations. Purim, if you missed my video on that or my upload to David Duke's on that, I'll just give you a run over. They marry. It's a real celebration of a real time in history where a nation was onto them, onto the Pharisees, the so-called Pharisees, and then they were going to deal with them. The military commander had plans and incentives, I'm sure, and plenty of reason to deal with them. The whole nation, I'm sure, had plenty of reason to deal with them because they were moving forward. So they brought a woman in who was of their bloodline to lay down in bed with the king. And from there forth, the king treated her as a queen. And of course, now the military commander Haman, he was talking, his propaganda he had been, or his information he had been talking about for years, was now targeting the wife, lover of the king. So he, of course, was dealt with eventually. And that's what Purim is. And David Duke knows this. David Duke knew that when he went on the Alex Jones show and refused to confront Alex Jones like I confronted Alex Jones reporters about, which is the main key, the main factual evidence. It's the root of evidence of who Alex Jones is and why his agenda has become tainted. And it fully describes why Alex Jones used to seem legit when he was poor and why now he has a rich, fancy studio and he taints his information a different way. And of course, Alex Jones is also caught on camera saying, well, you know, it's the Zionists, someone says to him, and he goes, well, yeah, but you know, we can't ever speak of that because we get kicked off air. So here we have, I'm just going to mention something about the golden one. You can see it says comments are disabled for this video. Yeah, you see he has a problem. They have problems keeping some of this information under lock. So right here, Richard Spencer versus Lauren Southern, it's quite easy to tell that there was something going on in the comments that he wanted to silence. So everyone tied into Duke is talking about the same stuff and bringing up the same agenda. And it's really easy to see because you have the same thing happening over and over. Like here, the libertarians, which was kind of between the David Duke era and the alt-right, pretty much kind of is not the right word. I'm just throwing that word in there. And it is. So here we have, the libertarian leaders, and I could make a collage like this of the pre-libertarian leaders as well. This is all information I've disclosed a long time ago. Sorry, there's talking going on and I'm not seeing it. This is a new method for me, so I am unaware completely. Let's see what you guys said. Hold up, let me finish this up. This is real quick since I'm on this picture. You can just see that these are all the libertarian leaders. I've released this information before. Mostly anytime I release this information, it gets gone. So there are lots of people out there who have been educated by me on different places, and they may or may not know me. And then there's lots of places where I posted this information and it just gets removed, like in a day, a week, a month. I've had people who watch me and they'll ban me for one thing, and then they'll wait till like the day I'm unbanned, and then they'll report another thing. So instead of reporting it all at once, they've clearly have methods where they do stuff. But I've definitely reported on this before, and I could easily make this, change each of the faces here and show you the David Duke era and how they all deceive things. And then, of course, the only one here we can't prove anything about is supposedly Italian, like the InfoWars reporter, Judge Napolitano. And you have Ayn Rand's like their Zio God. And then you can pretty much find a Zio God of each movement as well. Like science has the Zio gods, and pretty much they all do. So I'm gonna go to comments here. I think I've pretty much discussed everything. Well, here's Pat Condell. He's kind of like from linked to this right here, this collage, but for the David Duke version. I can't say for sure when Pat Condell started, but he's been notified by many people, and he, of course, doesn't change as well. He doesn't care. He wants to blame white liberals for everything. So that's pretty much his agenda there, and he is part of that. And there I am saying, he's talking about free speech, and I'm laughing out loud at free speech from deceivers like you. You know better, too. And then I show him, like, Mossad controls our media. Invented the Fight Club movie, works with Brad Pitt, Angela Jolie, and basically the other people in Hollywood. That's Arnon Milchan, Hollywood producer of Regency Films, and you can't really see because it's so small, but that smaller picture right there is him besides Bibi Netanyahu and Sharon Perez, possibly missing a letter or two in that name. I don't know much about him, but he's one of the big-time leaders there. And so let's go to comments for a second. Let's scroll up and down. Hey, what's up, Maria? Shara Lambos. Is your surname Shara Lambos? Is that how you pronounce it? Okay, Joe Gillis says there are people with Celtic names that are Jewish Celtic names. That's something worth researching. Well, yeah, I mean, my name's Hebrew. Like, my name all boils down to the same Hebrew name, and it's definitely considered Irish. But yeah, Joe, you could easily make a video on that, and I could watch that. It's hard for me to find Asian. That was really when I stopped looking for surnames. And I mean, I still do when I need to, but direct research of it was stopped when I started looking into China, and everything's completely censored. And that was one of the small pieces to the puzzle that worrying about the other nations doesn't really help us. America, but the main thing is USA has no reason to be discussing other nations. So, but that probably is important discussing the Celtic surnames, or Celtic, however you pronounce it, right? And because there's so many of them in America. But it would be interesting to know. But I think, to me, the more important thing, they seem to be interested in Asia at this point. But I was told a lot of their surnames are ones we are looking for. Oh my God, it's scrolling the chat up as I'm trying to read it. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Joe. But he already knew. I mean, I already knew that, so it wasn't me really informing him. I was putting him on notice. Yeah, Joe. Hey, I asked for you to discuss that as well, Joe. It's hard to do all this research. Like, I spend every second of my life like reading and research almost. I guess not so much every second anymore, but I've spent a lot in it. I really know nothing of the world. Yeah, I try not to fight in my comments, guys. I don't really like taking sides, and that's probably not the best thing to. Like, I'm not very good at that myself, so I can't, like, ride on you guys. I can't, like, attack people for attacking people. As you've seen in the liberal video, I'm not very... You guys actually missed it. The first 15 minutes of that liberal video was me. Like, it wasn't uploaded. It was a different video that didn't get recorded, and it was me attacking them big time for following the Jewish leaders and blaming everything on whites. Hey, but thanks for coming, everyone. NHK novel. I don't know what NHK is. So I've basically gone over the stuff here in the video that this topic should cover. And I guess I didn't cover that, did I? Okay, so here we have, never mind the words, it's just a picture that I pulled up. You have Tommy Robinson, again, like the others, he's surrounded by the other people. That blue flag in the background at the top is, of course, exactly what you think it is, the flag of Israel. And in fact, like, I don't know who that third tall guy is, but he sure looks like he's part of it. It's weird. It's interesting to note that every time you find one of these so-called white people, that they're surrounded by their handlers. Like that girl, the InfoWars reporter, like had one right there on her arm, and I didn't even notice him really because I was like focused on what I was doing. But it's interesting to note that they are always there handling them, and I'm sometimes left wondering, like, why? Like, are they really like puppets? Like they're just flesh puppets or something, and they need a controller or what? But Tommy Robinson is like a European version of the Richard Spencer, so he ties into that. But again, I brought up Golden One and Tommy Robinson. Again, I must assert that all nationalists, if you're a white nationalist, or if you're anything, if you're a USA nationalist, if you're just a normal human being, unless you're a globalist, the other nations, it doesn't matter what they do, as long as it doesn't interfere with your people's personal well-being. What Europe does, it doesn't concern me. I mean, the only thing about this that concerns me is these people are deceiving him, and they're driving these groups to hate each other. And you can see, like, I purposefully have left stuff up that I've said that's hateful, because I'm not trying to, erase who I am and pose as some perfect person. But these groups are designed, people like Tommy Robinson and David Duke generally are designed to instill hate into you, and then that causes further division. But one of the most important things about not allowing their hate to infect you is it destroys you as a person. It destroys your inner being, like the energy inside of you. It starts to destroy your how it works, like everything. Like supposedly it will age you and destroy your hair, and it's really negative energy. Like when I first started getting into this politics stuff, I was a different person. Let's put it that way. And I didn't have much hate. I did a lot of random rebellious shit that was extremely hardcore, and who knows how many people may have died from that stuff. But I was never really filled with any sort of hate or negative emotion purposefully. Like, just random hardcore shit and random psychotic outbursts. Other than that, I didn't have any hate until I came along Alex Jones, and that started changing me, and it really destroyed who I was. And I can't take that back either. Like I can't undo what I've done, and I can't unsee what I've seen. So it's like a permanent change. It's like a permanent jaded edge they've given me. And you carry that with you, and you cut other people with it. And that seems to be the main goal here of these groups, is to not just, like, the goal seems to be divide you on the outside, but again, everything kind of boils down to like some deeper, more hateful thing about controlling your energy, controlling sucking your life from you, sucking your time. It's almost as if they really are harvesting your energy as a final goal, because they can print all the money they want. And they could use America to totally terminate populations instead of just mostly terminating them and leaving stragglers behind to regrow and rebirth the areas and care for the areas, stuff like that. So you've got to watch it when you get involved in this politics stuff, because technically, if it exists at all and is anything to talk of that's interesting, there's probably a problem within the system and not actually like a liberal or Republican or whatever problem, because the system, if it was working well, it wouldn't be interesting. So then they take that non-working, that interest in the non-working part, which of course you're going to have a little bit of animosity to or enjoyment of, and then they'll take your emotions and they'll make them worse. They'll stomp on you to make aggression grow, or they'll flower it to make your love for some sort of bad thing grow. But in general, they just seem to be out to corrupt the energy of the world and corrupt the minds of the world and cause chaos in general. So that's the only reason I see we should talk about other nations ever, is to compare and contrast. You know, and if America wants to be number one, the only reason we should really talk about other nations is to see what they're doing right and absorb their things. And I guess I'll end this video on that note. And one of the things that no one talks about is the simple fact that we aren't metric and we are standard. We had to invent standard because we were in a war with the French, and the French was the empire at the time. So our people didn't really get the metric standard from France as we should have. So we invented standard. And that's one thing no one talks about. I actually think I've seen one person talk about it, but that needs change. So I'm going to end this video on that. It's a little long-winded for just me only having like 10 pictures. Thanks for coming along, guys. I've got to deal with breakfast and stuff like that. It's like 2 p.m. I've got to start eating more. I've lost so much weight recently just from trying to catch up on other stuff and trying to deal with problems. My opinion on women are that they're probably different than men. And Crank X, what's my opinion on women? Like, they're probably different from men, and I'm not sure what really to think of them. I don't know, dude. They can be pretty if they try. That's what I think. I don't know. They seem to be like you know, the creator designed them to birth babies. I'm not sure if that was like the specific reason, but that's like a natural thing they do. They carry a baby with them for 9 months. So clearly part of their designation is to raise a child. And the estrogen seems to create a different person compared to the testosterone. And I've noticed even in the trans people that when they start taking estrogen, they turn into a different person. So these things are just like other drugs. Like I take, or I used to, let's say I used to take marijuana to like, and all the time. And I was like a really calm and happy person. In fact, what I discussed earlier about the energy and Alex Jones seeming to turn me into a hateful person at the same time I lost my ability, I couldn't smoke anymore. So that could have had something to do with it. But these drugs like estrogen and testosterone, these chemicals, seem to definitely have an impact. And at the end of the day, I don't know what it's like to be a female because I'm not one. So my viewpoint is from an outsider's point of view, and people seem different across the board to a certain extent. So my real point, I guess, on how I see women is I see a lot of them these days is being like government worshipers and not friendly to the partner and stuff. But maybe it goes both ways. It's really hard. It like my what I think of something as a whole group is, it's really hard for me to place something on a whole group rather than a few things there. Like I can say a couple things, like black people may have dark skin and they might have a natural curly hair, and they might naturally be more earthly people and more aware of certain things that other people aren't. But beyond that, it's really hard for me to tell you what another person is internally because I don't feel that person and I don't even like know myself. So it's hard for me to cast a huge blanket over something like what is a woman or what is a man, especially when I'm like not exactly like other men. And then I'm behind the idea that there's different beings on this earth, which the people who control this earth, the so-called Jewish leaders, tell us that there are different beings on this earth. So it's something that should be researched. That's what I think of women. We should have legit research on the different species and subspecies and sexes, and you can easily see. You're allowed to do that research on animals. Like the tiger, the lady tiger raises the young and pretty much eventually gets rid of the male. Same with the lions as well. They don't like to keep the males around, but they raise their offspring. So I believe that you can't always carry it over because that might be a different thing. Like the praying mantis kills its mate. So clearly the female has some sort of role in breeding until we look at seahorse, which is asexual. Is that the right word when you're both sexes? So there's a lot of stuff going on. It's hard for me to make a critical analysis when most of the stuff in my head I'm still trying to unlearn. Like, what is a woman? Like, well, for 30 years I was looking for a woman like me, and because science told me everyone is exactly the same. And what the world sent to me was a woman who was a missing piece to the puzzle who I am, a person who might have did things I didn't even see as important. Like I don't even think I ate most of my life. And then when women come into my life, they cook me food and stuff like that, and they clean. And it's like, I kind of did. I did cleaning, but I don't even think I ate. So it's hard for me to say what I think of women. And I was definitely directed by the alt-right and where the alt-right came from to like attack women, and I kind of have, because they are like a large portion of the liberal base that pushes this and that. But at the end of the day, I would rather hang out with a lover who's like a female than hang out with any of my male friends. I've shown that over and over again. So I find that the passive aggression that a female might hold within her is more comforting of a bad trait to be around than the outward aggression that a male has. But it's such an in-depth conversation that would require another video, and at the same time, it requires more research and real research, and it's simply not out there. Every person claiming to knows, like MGTOW. I think MGTOW, a lot of them are just gay people. Sure, they're fed up with women or whatever, but I've seen men and women act differently, and so I've seen things where women could be fed up with men because I've seen some of the way men act. I'm not saying I've ever been perfect, but then again, in the past, I don't think I ever like distinctively wanted a mate. I do now, like I want a partner now, but in the past, it was never like at the front of my mind. Like I was just born into the world trying to figure stuff out. So what do I think of women? I think they're different people than men, but that itself depends on outward influences. The different races alone, the sexes, just like the different animal species or different insect species, they might play a different role. So what I have to say about women might not even apply to most people, because my appearance is probably, my outlook and perception is highly jaded or altered or indifferent, however you want to look at it, because most of my experience has been with what I think are white women. So I like what I think of white women could be something I could say even more about than what I think of women, because again, I think at the end of the day, the different races and different species among these so-called human races, their women seem to be different people, and that's where, like, see that's getting into a whole nother topic of the designation of the different species and races and the creator's will and intent, and how they cultivate the earth in different ways. So that's like to be honest, that's like a long discussion that I've been kind of jaded about, because I'm alone and I'm kind of like hateful towards white women, because it's like, why the fuck am I alone so much? It's like they act like they don't like me and shit in this neighborhood and stuff. And so I would need like more research, and I'm under like 30 years of brainwashing that we're all the same, and I know that's not right. So I'm trying to unlearn that. Like this whole process of learning, it might begin with years or decades of unlearning incorrect information. So that's something that needs looked into. It definitely needs looked into, like, who are women and what are their roles? Because clearly you can see when they take testosterone, they change and basically into men. And then women, or when men take estrogen, they change. Like, they literally change. Like, every time I see one of these transgendered people, I'm always thinking like, wow, hey, that's cool. That's a chick. That's like a person with a hot body, and they're gonna be into metal and video games. And it's like, no. Every time I talk to one of them, they're like, I like long walks in the park and flowers and moonlit serenades and, you know, the typical women stuff. And so it's clear to me that these chemicals inside the body do alter you. So that's about as far as I can go with saying what a woman is. They're different people to an extent, and it really depends on the chemical makeup. Each of them could be different in different ways, and at the end of the day, I don't know what it's like, and it would be important to, if I really wanted to be intellectual about it, it would be important that we have some sort of study done on them And then we also ask the smarter ones in their group how it is, and how they view things. And of course, testing them, because I would never test the person by asking them about themselves. Like when I test the person, I ask them questions that generally tell me other answers. And most of the time it's about staring into their eyes and into their souls and seeing the true response rather than the words they give. Unfortunately, I misjudged a female recently who was really fucking awesome, this girl Robin. And she kept telling me about how she's not interested in relationships and all this. And it's like the whole time she was like kind of obsessed with me. Other than that, she was so scared she couldn't stop smiling. It was one of the two, but I think she was like, I can feel people's energy. So I'm pretty sure she was just as obsessed with me as I was with her. And I listened to that incorrectly rather than reading the soul. So when we do these tests, we can't just hand out a questionnaire to people and ask them how do they feel. We have to analyze them and see their response, their verbal and their physical and their internal response to anything they do as well. So that really needs something said of it. How do I feel about women? Like, I don't know, dude. My brain kind of shuts off like other males when I see hot ones. And I think men should definitely protect themselves from that as much as we can, if that's possible. And I think they're different people. And we should take note of that, and we should allow them to be themselves and not try to force them to be like everyone else or like anyone else. And it's quite an in-depth topic. So let me go through the comments here again. Well, okay, and Crank, you said you asked because one of the commenters make it seem like women are dumb and lazy. Well, I think that's actually an American thing, and especially a Columbus thing for me. Like I'm told by outsiders, my view is the world is extremely different because I'm in a different place than other people are, and women seem to be less interested in logical understanding, but in my experiences, women have a different understanding of the world. Like there are different levels of intelligence, and these tests I scored really high on in school generally. It was weird because then they gave me an IQ test and I scored a little lower than they thought I would. And they were left puzzled, like, how come he's so smart, but our main test isn't showing it. So there's different levels of intelligence. And I'll tell you, from women, I've learned more of a spiritual, non-earthly understanding. And from men, I've learned more of a logical understanding. So to call them stupid isn't outright. And a person who I met recently had told me, a woman had told me she's not so smart. And I think women get scared when I talk really intelligently. And some of them have told me that's probably what's happening. They're getting scared of me. And the thing is I spoke with this woman. She wasn't dumb at all. And I told her that too. And like she had an understanding of an awareness of the situation around her. And I was like, wait a minute, you're not dumb. Like if you can understand that and you've only been around it a couple years, then you're not dumb. So there seems to be different intelligences, and in my experience, it's possible that women have more of a spiritual understanding, and men have more of a physical understanding of things. And so our tests are geared towards physical understanding. Everything is root-based in pure, hard, government-issued government approved facts. And without that, there might be something else. So the intelligences seem to be different. I'm not sure to what extent and if it applies. But again, I'm in America, and my view could be jaded because it's the empire, and at this time in the empire, people are changing, and the empire degrades slowly. So it could be very jaded compared to, or very skewed compared to what I'm actually seeing, would be seen elsewhere in the world. Let me look through these comments. Not all humans. Oh, okay, the pill. You're talking about the blue pill, the red pill, right? Yeah, I would say that each sex is like, each sex is kind of like a different species, and it's like when I associate with dogs and stuff and animals, like they don't seem dumb. They just seem like a different being inside a different form body, and they're different. Like, it's not like it's going to build a computer for me, but it could still be very intelligent at the same time. Yeah, that's interesting you bring up, and Crank brings up, how about chemicals from other beings near you affecting you? I don't think about that at all, but there you are with your woman brain bringing up something that's not that's not like, physical hands on. And well, to some extent, that possibly could be measured if you had science tools available. Maybe there are chemicals in the air. They say pheromones and stuff does stuff to you. So that could definitely highly associate with you. And I believe in the pheromone thing, at least if not for the simple fact that we're attracted to different smells. Like it's weird how like men and women, they have perfume and cologne. It's different stuff, right? And the men's stuff is like harsh and strong and woody, citrusy and alcohol-y. And then the women's stuff is like beautiful and sweet. But then I myself wonder, like, how does that work in someone else, not being someone else? I don't understand how that works. Like me personally, I would like to wear cotton candy perfume over most of this men's shit, unless it's like Cool Water or something. A lot of the men's stuff, like I don't want to smell like firewood. I don't want to smell like pine trees. But I personally don't want to smell that, so that could just be me saying I don't want to smell that on a woman, and maybe a woman wants to smell the chemical smell of pine trees from me, or the scent of grass, fresh mowed grass from me. I'm not sure. What do you think about that, Anne Crank? Do women like cologne? Like me as a man, I want to smell cotton candy. Like I want to smell something that makes me want to sink my teeth into you. But I want to smell that on myself as well. You don't like cologne? Yeah, see, me personally, I I find myself going, like, besides Cool Water, like Davidoff Cool Water, in one of the Adidas scents, there's still like a citrusy scent, so it's like borderlining getting into the fragrances we're told women enjoy. And other than that, I like these really sweet smelling candies. Like I literally have some of that cotton candy stuff. I don't wear scents because my I had stuff happen to me, and then I had on top of that I had a surgery, and it like gave me super smell. So I have to be like very careful around chemicals and smells. Like I have to pretty much avoid them for a decade, but now I can kind of go around them. But I do have like scents over here. I've got a few male scents and I got a few supposed female scents. But to me, I would much rather smell like cotton candy and fruit than pine needles. Yeah, and yeah, speaking of it being too strong, especially with my smell being like super smell heightened, and then my allergic reaction to almost every chemical in the world, I I do things like I spray it into the air and then I move my wrist through the spray and then I rub my wrists together. So I wear like very light scent and then I'll like rub a wrist on my neck or something if I do that. But I personally really like my smell. I suppose if someone was like, if I was interested in attracting a mate, or when I am, I suppose that a person who likes sex and wants to be close to me would like love my smell, because personally I think my smell is fucking awesome, but maybe that's just me. Yeah, Craig Harrison says, I think both sexes just want to be sold a product. Well, here I'm going to have to say something. I think in Edward Bernays' Propaganda, wrote the book Propaganda. You guys probably know that if you're on my page. Also fluoridated the water, did the Torches of Freedom movement to teach women that they should smoke cigarettes. He said that you lead the females and then the males follow. So you sell the females products and then eventually the males will come along. He knew something about females. Like the females are more susceptible to out to it's weird how they have a more spiritual knowledge, it seems, but they seem to be more susceptible to material goods propaganda. Something about that, again, I can't really say what's happening there, but he seemed pretty right on that. You sell something to the females and then the females will bring the males along, because the males will follow the female. And again, I think his experience there alone was he was viewing white people, because in the black community, I don't see the men following the females at all. That's definitely a white thing. That was a white male who invented the chauvinistic and the romance even. So he was definitely talking about white males when he said that. And in Asia as well, they don't tend to let their women move along. This seems to be a European male type thing, but I believe that the only reason sometimes, like they just came out with smells for men as far as soap and shampoo. Like, you know, you didn't need man-based shampoo, you didn't need man-based soap, did you? But now they have it, and it makes me but at the same time, the culture's kind of getting sissified. And in my mind, I'm like, why do I want that? It's like, I've already got oil of Olay. You know, I've already been through so many soap products. And I know it's just a waste of time and money to choose a new product. I'm not sure how that even works. I'd like to discuss with males about that. Like, are any of the males buying this for male product? Like, I bought a couple for the scent because I don't like Old Spice, but new Old Spice has one or two fresh scents that smell good. So I use that for deodorant. And Like, I never used the women's stuff for deodorant because back in the day it was all that white powdery stuff. And in fact, I don't like deodorant. It doesn't work. Just cool yourself down, wear cooling clothes, stay out of the heat, and you won't sweat. I prefer that method over deodorant. But are any of the men buying that stuff? I bought a couple just because, but I really don't. I have one of the Old Spice soaps. I don't even think I use it though because I like my Olay. I like, the stuff I've already chosen, the sensitive skin product or the coconut smelling product. I don't care if it's for men or women. I want it to not damage my skin. They make me dried out, and I want it to. It doesn't really matter if it smells good because that scent doesn't seem to stay along. But it's got to carry soap away, and it's got to lather well. I don't care. You could put some pink. You could make it pink and put flowers on it. If it's soap, it doesn't matter. It's not like I'm going to wear a bunch of pink flowers on my body and stuff. Well, the odd thing is, Craig Harrison says, I'm wondering when makeup marketing to men is going to take off. The odd thing is, I already did the research on that. And males invented makeup, and the Pharisees were the ones who started wearing the makeup and stuff. And so, like back in the day, you couldn't just go to the store and spend a couple bucks on some makeup. You were like a slave, and there was no store, and there was really no such thing as makeup. They would use like ash from fire to, paint themselves up and stuff like that, and different quote unquote homemade methods. Basically like. I suppose ash from fire was probably always the dark makeup they used, possibly squid's ink, but that would be really rare and really hard to obtain and probably stupid considering some of it's poisonous. So makeup was already marketed to men, but it was long before it was mass made. But yeah, that would be interested. And the makeup companies, you can tell every year are running out of ideas to sell their overpriced products. So they'll change the formula a little bit in the label, and they'll tint the colors. Many of them will tint the colors a little bit differently. And then, so you have to buy 2 products now instead of your usual one because you're not sure which one's going to work this year because it looks different and this and that. So you can tell they're running out of ways to do it. But can they market makeup to males? Because generally males are working all the time and they don't have time to put on makeup. Makeup's a very talented, time-consuming thing. It's like the women and the men discussion. Like men are hard workers, women are lazy. Well, a pretty girl isn't lazy. This is one of the things where the judging the book from the cover comes into play. But we don't think of this. A pretty woman if she's using makeup, especially if she uses makeup to become pretty. Not all of them have to, but you have flaws, whatever, like you have acne, whatever, and you want to be like a perfect cartoon image. It can take so long of time to learn how to use makeup. It's really a talent. My ex worked in Hollywood and stuff. Like, that's a talent, working with makeup. It takes a lot of skill, a lot of time. So some pretty girls are really hard working. You just don't see it because they're hard working in front of a mirror at home, and they don't want you to see that because the whole point of it is to not let you see that. That's the whole point of covering it up. So the men kind of don't have time to learn about makeup and use makeup. I learn about that stuff slowly here and there. I mess with it theatrically and then was a model. And then after a long, long time, especially after getting with my ex and thinking that I was probably going to end up in Hollywood with her and all this, and also like wanting to be equal with her because she was like so gorgeous. And it's like I would like try, to learn more techniques so I could, make myself presentable, make myself what I wanted, like what she wanted me to be, the eye candy that impresses all her friends and rich buddies when she brings me around. So I myself got into that more. So I can just say it's very time consuming, very time consuming to learn about makeup, learn about shading, learn about colors, and this ties again into women colors. Like when I was discussing colors, granted, my brother is an artist of sorts, and then again I am too. But I'm talking about drawing type artist and color type artist. Like her knowledge of colors and stuff was like crazy. It's like, what the hell? It's like, is this a woman thing to be able to be drawn, to understand the arts more and stuff like that, or was it just her who fully understand it? But the time involved for makeup kind of doesn't allow for your normal male to do that. If you have a man who's working 2-3 jobs, as many men do, that he's not going to be able to buy any makeup, and if he does, he's just going to throw it away and give up on it, because it will take so much time to learn how to do that stuff and to learn your colors and to learn application. It really, if a man's already working 2-3 jobs, that's what he's offering the woman. He's offering her money. So I don't, unless women start working more and men start working less, I don't see them being able to market makeup to men, simply for the fact that it's so time consuming to get into that. And when you first get into it, it can take a lot of time just applying some basic makeup. Joe, take it easy on the women. Yeah, Craig makes a good observation. You shouldn't trust anyone on the internet, and don't let their words get to you. There's always going to be people saying stuff they don't like, and it's not necessarily they're evil people or bad people. Not always, but like hell, I first posted guitar videos like a decade ago or so, and I quickly pulled them down because people are like, "You suck," and I was like, "Yeah, I probably do. Thanks for being honest. I'll start posting again when I get better." No, he's actually barely talking. I didn't even know he was in here. I thought he left. For the people not listening, they're talking about Joe Gillis in the comments. He was barely talking, actually. Yeah, Craig Harrison says, I think most, quote, ugly people, unquote, are just out of shape. It's like, hell, some people see that out of shape as, like, good looking, too. So that could, out of shape could be in quotes as well. Yeah, Maria says, I can wear makeup, but I'm allergic, so I don't bother, and makeup is too expensive. Yes, it's designed that way too. You can tell by how they release and re-release the product every year, and It seems to be they slightly change the shade so you get confused as to which one you have to buy, and you have to buy a new one. It seems to be a market where they're just scamming people to get a lot of money out of a little bit of something. And the smaller and then they'll make the product smaller and more expensive the next year. Then again, what aren't they doing that with too, right? Because they're killing the dollar. But when they do that, they make you buy more of it. And you could just take one of these small little bottles and make it last an entire year. But the money comes in when you buy a new product to see how it works. They're like, oh, we got this other line, or oh, we're canceling this line, or oh, we're improving this line. And it's like it really is a market that seems to be about preying on people for their money. And this is where women's lack of control and power, but they're more spiritual and less material less physical mindset doesn't actually come into play. I don't hear many women complaining about this, but I can tell you from watching it for a short while, it's like kind of robbing you and deceiving you. Whatever it is, it's the makeup and the beauty stuff. It is definitely. It's got a lot of tricks in it just to rob people. Like all the soaps, like I said, I use Olay, and it's like it is kind of gentle and stuff. Like there are soaps you use, especially like lava soap and fast orange cleaner, stuff we use to remove oil from our hands or other chemicals when we do like mechanics work and stuff like that, work with greases and oils. There are obviously differences, but some of that propaganda is designed to just make you buy some new crap that may not even work. And to be honest, I've been testing on myself. I've been using myself as a guinea pig. I've been moisturizing one leg for like about 2-3 years. But it's probably a best test done on a new person, because my skin is already developed and stuff. And well, I would rather ask someone else to look at it to see the actual results. But I'm wondering, a lot of this beauty stuff is marketed on lies, and then getting you to buy the new $5 product. You're like, oh, well, I've been using this $5 product, but let me try that one. So the expense of makeup is highly overinflated. And at the same time, you're talking about you want to use organic makeup. And that's very important, because you start using a lot of the trashy makeup. I'm not saying all non-organic. I kind of think everything's organic, but what it is it's like a safer product generally. Like I can get styes and stuff. You get styes, you get acne, you get breakouts from whatever you apply, and it can get a lot worse with your cheaper, or cheap isn't the right word as far as cost value. I'm not necessarily saying low cost is worse, but I don't know. Indifferently made products can cause problems. So a lot of that stuff, like organics being more expensive, that's like a trick they made up. Like everything used to be kind of organic, and kind of everything is organic, but they've pulled the natural away from society and started marketing you cheaper junk in some cases, and only to push. And I would assume it's possible at first when they started pushing this cheap stuff, it might have been more expensive because it was tasty and delicious, so you've got to buy it. But now they've switched back to providing, quote, organics, and it's like double the price just to have something natural. When in fact, most of that other stuff, like, probably shouldn't even be in it. If red dyes cause mental conditions in some people, then like none of this stuff should be wasted. And people want to talk about global warming and stuff like that and saving the environment. It ties directly back into that, to making limited products, but making sure they're not full of chemicals and dyes and stuff. You know, like almost everything you drink is filled with dye. And what is the dye there for? It's simply to make you be like, ooh, purple drink. It's purple. I love purple. And you're like, ooh, it's purple. That means it's grape or something like that. Or it's plum. And I mean, that's one of the things I would change too. It's like we would definitely, sort out this organic, inorganic stuff, and it would lower the prices and then it would save the earth, because I would force companies, or at least, blackmail isn't the word, but if you're in a position of power, when you say words and the whole world hears it, the world like the companies will change, because you'll be like, oh, you just really hurt our company, so we've got to change it. And so there would be less dyes wasted, because companies would want to use less dyes if you mentioned something about that. I don't even think you would have to seize all the corporations. I think just hinting things like maybe products should be a little more safer and a little better. Use words like organic. More products should be more organic, and it would just cause more products to lean that way, and then those products again would fall in price. But it makes me seem, it feels like they got rid of natural organics probably to increase price in the first place, to make it cute and pretty, and then now they're bringing it back because it's profitable again and they can double the price. So who knows, maybe we can get that changed. That whole, you said organics makeup is more expensive. It's like, yeah, that's, I see organics the way I see the technology. Like, I mean, makeup, the way I see technology, it's turned into this thing where they just try to find new ways to scam you for money. And technology is kind of like a boy's toy thing, and makeup is considered like a woman's toys thing. So that's tech is definitely a field where all that scamming would stop if I was involved in it. The smell of Maria says the smell of cleaning chems make her dizzy. Yeah, I'm literally sick and end up in the hospital when I'm around certain chems and stuff. I shouldn't say that. I don't like the power of words and saying stuff like that. But my neighbors burn wood, and I go to the hospital, and they do burn wood. So I spent several years just going to the hospital all the time, because I couldn't breathe or would get sick from things in the air, or I had to quit mopping my floor. I was such a clean person. You can see in my early pics that I was so clean, almost all my life. But then things happen, and then I had a surgery, and it gave me super smell and super sensitivity. And so yeah, I get that chemical thing a lot. But yeah, and then Ann Clark says, "Wow, it's a good idea to test products." I don't see any real difference, but one reason why I started testing around with moisturizing creams and stuff is because my nails separate from my cuticles, and then they start cracking and bleeding. And I suppose that's from doing lots of work, like extreme amounts of finger work, like guitar and typing and Android smartphone use and I mean, everything you do uses your fingers almost, but probably especially guitar and typing. And so I started working on that to try to see that. And then I was like, well, since I'm noticing that my legs are seeming pretty dry when I get out of the shower these days, that I would start testing on myself. But I don't think I'm a good test person because, first of all, I'm still testing and using different products. Like I bought this really nice smelling moisturizer. It's like a lemon scent, but it's made with all natural stuff. So it's like literally made with lemons, and it's like worse. I don't know if it's worse for my skin than no moisturizing or not, but it's definitely not as good. It dries out fast, and so anything seems to work better than that. So I've switched around a lot, so I'm not the best at testing, but there's so many people who use these products. We could easily get people to test on themselves. The government could fund people to do this, and we would basically destroy most of these corporations' narratives. That this makes you prettier or that makes you prettier. I think we would, and at the very least, we would prove which companies' products work and which don't. And it's almost all nonsense. Almost all this corporate stuff is nonsense. It's like they kind of market, like I said, with the tech goes to men, and the makeup and the beauty, the soap and shampoo, conditioner is marketed towards women. Along with men, they also now have the workout stuff. And it's like, well, everyone, they're marketing you something, some sort of workout product. Those models are on steroids. So that's the main product they're marketing. It's a lie. They're not getting that way from eating protein powder. Yeah, I actually have coconut oil, and I do tend to use that, but the problem is it has to be slightly above room temperature to be a liquid, and so it's always a solid unless I heat it up first. And when I jump out of the shower, I'm not always interested in sitting around and heating up some coconut oil. Yeah, I didn't know you could clean your teeth with coconut oil either. I actually clean my teeth without anything, sometimes just a brush. Yeah, it melts in my mouth, but what if I wanted to put it on my skin after that? I really wouldn't want to spit it back on my skin. Who knows? Maybe that's healthy, but I'm not really looking forward to doing that. Oil pulling. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. But again, you have to heat up your coconut oil. At least, put its container in some warm water and allow a little bit of it to melt. So it's never a readily available moisturizer. Even like some of this coconut oil stuff I have that comes in like a balm stick. It's too hard at room temperature, and of course would probably melt if I raise it above room temperature, and then it wouldn't be in the stick anymore. Yeah, but like I said, the last few weeks I've been working with nothing at all except for brushing my teeth. And that allows me to brush my teeth more often, actually, because like right now, see, I can just run the water here, let it get warm, let it get sterilized hot, and just run my brush under it. And I can just brush my teeth for like about 20 seconds. And you should definitely, well, I should floss because I have crowded teeth. If you don't have crowded teeth, you probably don't have to. But that's real fast compared to, the minute and 30 seconds or 2 minutes it takes to put some toothpaste on on that and this and that. And then on top of it, it's got the fluoride in it generally. And toothpaste like dries out my mouth really bad. So the past few weeks I've been experimenting with using no sort of paste, and my teeth haven't begun hurting. If I don't brush my teeth for like 2 days, generally they hurt, so they haven't been hurting from just using water. E. Michael Jones gets all this attention. Joe Segur. Yeah, I feel bad about Joe Segur because he goes back into this alt-right worship all the time, and it's like, well, I mean, like, serious? Like, we got over the alt-right in like 2013 or 14. Most people were saying it seems pretty fishy, but now it's like super big and super popular, and it's like, why? Like, how is it getting bigger and popular when we already exposed it? And it's like the truther movement. The truther movement is actually pretty dead, but it seems to be coming back. It's like, why are you bringing it back from the dead? It's like the 70s. It's like, well, we're not in the 70s. That was a long time ago. And then they brought it back. They recycle some of their deceptions. And the thing is these groups of people, they all merely talk about the same 6 topics. They hardly offer anything else about life. So they had to invent Jordan Peterson, because Jordan Peterson talks about a few other things about actual life. And it's like, how are these people all politically involved if they have no actual knowledge? Like, how do you choose someone to run for your nation who's actually not, like, intelligent? It wouldn't make any sense if you didn't know that the media hides people and doesn't discuss everyone. Like, one time I seen they had some scientists on who was running for a candidate, and he wanted to discuss like the agenda, what changes he would make, and they just wanted him to discuss nonsense. And he even said that. He was like, I'm trying to discuss topics here. We don't need to discuss whether Barack is a Kenyan name or an Israeli name. And so he didn't get nowhere because they didn't want to discuss topics. They just wanted to slander him or make him discuss stupid stuff. Gavin McInnes. Yeah, but all these people, they're just part of the alt-right umbrella. They don't really change. I believe E. Michael Jones came before the alt-right, so he's part of the Trump, or the David Duke Trump. Not Trump. The David Duke Stormfront era crowd. I would believe at his age he was probably around similarly around the time when they started. So it's just like they hire 8 people to control each movement, and if they're out there and they're famous, that is most likely one of those people. It's that simple. They have like 8 people. It's not a large group of people generally. And I was thinking, it's every 3 years they create a new web of deception. And then they just put out 8 people. They hire 8 actors to run that web of deception. And then that goes on deceiving everyone. Okay, so I have it was Craig Harrison who brought up Gavin McInnes, and then I wasn't calling this out, so I'm going to now. And then Who brought up E. Michael Jones? Was that Craig Harrison again? Yeah, Craig Harrison brought up E. Michael Jones. So that's who we were just discussing. For those just listening to the video. And Maria says she doesn't have problems because of her climate. Yeah, up here in the winter climate, it's really bad for everything. It's bad for your hair, it's bad for your skin, it's bad for your nails, it's bad for your car, it's bad for everything you own. Although some tropical climates may be really salty in your car, or anything you own that's metal might rust eventually, but it's really bad around here. And one of the things is they throw salt on everything, so then the salt kicks up and destroys everything as well. But also the temperature change from far below freezing to warm, hot, sunny day, that causes everything, not just your skin, but rubbers, wood, metals expand and shrink as well, but mostly you see temperature damages in rubber. Like you'll see it appear through rubber, like your rubber seals fail faster, in the cold climate. So there's a lot of stuff you have to deal with in the north that we don't have to deal with everywhere else. Like our roads expand and shrink, and that, like, our roads get paved, and then the next year they need paved again pretty much, but they don't pave them for 8 years. What? Are you saying Gavin McGinnis was kissing Milo? Really? That's not gossipy or anything to talk about. But I guess it's important to know what these people are doing. Was he being paid to, or what? Is that water overpowering my voice? I don't know why I'm pouring water. Here's another thing I did. You gals and guys talking about organics. Ooh, I don't want to see that, dude. You guys and gals talking about organics. Here's something I started doing. I started storing water in bottles. Because especially here in the cold climate, first of all, I guess years ago, I started storing water in bottles to keep it cool, because in workouts you need something cool to keep you cooled down, or your system might overheat and cause some problems. But I started recently storing it in bottles because it's so cold out here that the water is like really cold in the winter, and then you drink that water and it rips your insides up, and it makes it really hard to sing and talk as well, because you just drank 4 jugs of water. And then it made me realize at the same time what I'm doing there is I am removing the chlorine from the water as well. Because when it sits for, probably the most important thing to do if you want to do something. It's super expensive as well. But the chlorine in the water goes away after a few days, and it does taste better to me. I kind of dislike that. I mean, it's definitely an organic thing, although depending on whatever container it's in, it's probably leaching some of the container into it as well. But like I said, I didn't do that strictly for that purpose. I did that because in the winter, that you drink cold water and you go outside and you talk, you rip open your throat, and then bacteria gets in there, you get sick, or you can't talk for days because you just ripped open your throat. Yeah, it was like 30 below freezing. It was like I was working on my car in like something like November, December, or January. I think it was December or January. It was like 30 below freezing Of course, that's Fahrenheit. And possibly a little more than that. It gets cold up here. It gets colder elsewhere though. Like people north of me make fun of people here when we say it's cold, but it still gets to like 35, 40 below freezing around here. Oh wow, they kissed to want to piss off Islam. Like, wow, that's a good way to do it. Or were they trying to piss off Christians too? Well, 20C, 20C is I believe what is 20C? Isn't that like 50C? So let me convert here. What is 20 Celsius converted to Fahrenheit? Okay, yeah. Asking Google is pretty fun. Okay, yeah, that is the wrong device. I love how they lock these devices down and you don't know what it's doing. What is 20 Celsius converted to Fahrenheit? Dude, seriously, we need to shut Google down for protecting these corporations that slow these $1,000 devices down. Okay, so that would be 68. So you'd be talking about negative 60 or 60 below freezing. So I guess that's we haven't gotten that cold here, but to the north it does get cold. But for you, but you're talking about 20C. So wait a minute. So 20 degree, anything below 70 F. Okay, yeah. All right. So you weren't talking about negative 20 Celsius. You were talking about below 20 Celsius. So that's 78. Wow, dude. That's like that's like warm here. Like, yeah, 70 F is warm. So we get that in the summer. Right now, it might be like 60, and this is spring. It's 69 actually right now, and this is spring. So we are right at your thing, and this is basically like a warm spring day. Okay, so I'm going to close this out. I need to eat and give my vocal cords a rest. And it was good talking to y'all. And maybe I will come back on, but I've got to make sure I give my vocal cords rest. See you guys and gals later.